Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Iron Elite Podcast Show with your boy Sarge. Man, I hope you guys are having a great Thursday, man. If you sitting around and you ain't got your butt up and get to work, man, get up and go to work, man. You can listen to us on the podcast. You can listen to us on your phone, but make sure you're behind at work doing what you're supposed to do, man, because motorcycle parts ain't cheap. And I know what y'all thinking already, man. Sarge, I see Nurse Tiffany, man. I'm going to be petty, man. When we have Nurse Tiffany on, man, I feel like I'm going to the principal's office, man. But let everybody know we're on, man. Let everybody know we're going in this morning because we got some things to talk about. So, Kane 4L, let's go.
I was asked the other day, hey Sarge, why you never play any fast music on your podcast? It's simple. I'm petty.
Hurry up, don't truck it up, rev your motors up. If it ain't clean, get your polish up. Big sword, you in charge, real king of the south. If you ain't getting yonder, gotta keep it motorcycle, you dig? Hurry up, don't truck it up, rev your motors up. If it ain't clean, get your polish up. Big sword, you in charge, real king of the south. If you ain't getting yonder, gotta keep it motorcycle, you dig? Slide on my road glide, looking so fly. 20-inch rollback, screaming eagle torque pack. I-10 to the end, it's a known patch. If you ain't a ground pounder, pay attention, fall back. We iron elite boys, no need for hitting switches. We split lanes and hogging lanes, we on a mission. On our way to CA, we 100 deep. Water well, down the road, run it up, rip it up. Hurry up, don't truck it up, rev your motors up. If it ain't clean, get your polish up. Big sword, you in charge, real king of the south. If you ain't getting yonder, gotta keep it motorcycle, you dig? Hurry up, don't truck it up, rev your motors up. If it ain't clean, get your polish up. Big sword, you in charge, real king of the south. If you ain't getting yonder, gotta keep it motorcycle, you dig? I'm outside with it, I scrape the town burning loud when the smoke clear up. You know I hardly did it, I'm real gnarly with it. My ride clean when it bling, I show the lean on the scene to get jiggy with it. No did it, get it? I'm well equipped it. My bike side got a side, so you know I'm hit. She dropped it down and split it, backed it up to shift it. Let me kick a little game to you lames riding around here, giving a set a bad name. It don't matter what you rank or what you claim. When we turn it up, you keep it motorcycling, man. My soul brothers, they roll runners, we rolling deep. When it's time to rally up, it's Black Wall Street. When you see them MCs at the RTE, water well, down the road, run it up, rip it up. Hurry up, don't truck it up, rev your motors up. If it ain't clean, get your polish up. Big sword, you in charge, real king of the south. If you ain't getting yonder, gotta keep it motorcycle, you dig? Hurry up, don't truck it up, rev your motors up. If it ain't clean, get your polish up. Big sword, you in charge, real king of the south. If you ain't getting yonder, gotta keep it motorcycle, you dig?
But Sarge, why you always gotta talk about motorcycling? Sarge, why you don't never talk about nothing else? Look here, man. If you gonna do all that crying, what the baby gonna do?
Hey, again, man, welcome everybody to the Iron Elite Podcast Show, man. If you hadn't heard already, man, this month, November, is Movember. Yes, man, Movember. We're going to be talking about some things today with our favorite biker nurse, man, that's important to us men bikers. And hopefully it's our goal today. After we're done, we're making us as a motorcycle riding community more aware of what we need to be doing to make sure that we can be the healthiest motorcycle riders and family members we can be, man. So with that being said, Nurse Tiffany, how are you this morning, ma'am?
Doing well, doing well. Hope you are. Hope everybody is out there.
Yes, ma'am. Let's do this first and foremost. Let's give her a round of applause. Man, because she's busy, man, but she's giving us some time today, again, to talk about this thing called Movember. So with that being said, Nurse Tiffany, if you don't mind, can you introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today?
Okay, so I am Nurse Tiffany, Nurse Nichols, the biker, or IC, and I've been riding a while, probably about 21 years, and been on the set a long time. And I just, over the years, kept finding myself in a position where I was a resource, which is great, um, and started finding myself helping on the bike scene at bike events. I used to kind of try to keep biking and my career separate, but it just kind of kept coming together and meshing. So I kind of started just sharing different posts on situations that I encountered as far as safety, general wellness. I've been a registered nurse for almost 28 years. So wellness and health, it's just what I do on a daily basis. So I always try to proceed with the idea that if I can go to work every day and help others that I don't know, then it's part of my duty, part of my legacy to help the ones that are around me that I'm in direct contact with. So that's kind of why I'm here today. And like you mentioned, this month is Movember or November, which is recognized nationally as Men's Health Awareness Month. Because I have a significant other, because I have a father, because I have a son, because I have a nephew, because I have brothers, uncles, and I have awesome biker friends that are males. This is something that I'm really passionate about because I need for all of those guys to be well. So that's kind of what's driving me today to do this. Wanted to just kind of dive right in, specifically how it relates to motorcycle riding, because that's what we do. So we'll touch on a few different things today.
Oh, okay. Well, before we get started, let's do this. Let's welcome some of the folks who've come in with us this morning, man. Breezy does it, man. Thank you for being on with us this morning. Oh, by the way, we got motorcycle royalty with us this morning also. Riding with K Solo, man. K Solo, the rider from Riding with K Solo, the podcast with Logic, man. So he's on with us this morning. We appreciate him. We know he'd be busy going all over the universe on his motorcycle, but I appreciate you guys for coming in this morning. As you come in, if you would be so kind, shoot us a like, man, so we can get the algorithm going and get things popping on the show. Now, also for my Facebook viewers, we're only going to be on Facebook just for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to be moving on to YouTube. So if you would be so kind, open up a second tab. We're going to be moving on to YouTube shortly, and then we'll continue the show from that point. So again, for those that don't know, man, it's Movember, Men's Health Awareness Month. And we're on with our favorite biker nurse, Nurse Tiffany, man, talking about things and talking about health issues we as men should know to make sure we're doing everything we can to make sure we stay healthy. So with that being said, Nurse Tiffany, let me turn it back over to you.
Okay. All right, so we'll just kind of start by talking about motorcycle riding, just
Okay.
To make it pretty simple. I don't want to get too technical. You're not in class,
Because,
but
because some of us see students now. So don't be getting fancy.
So I'll try to use what we call layman's terms to make it easy to understand. So if you just think about when you sit on a motorcycle seat, the part of the male anatomy that is in direct contact with the seat, it's called the perineum. There's some structures there. There's muscles, there's nerves, there's blood vessels, all kinds of things. So that's why it's real important to be mindful of how sitting on a motorcycle seat for long periods of time with the vibration, the heat, if your seat is not a good seat, the shock absorption, all of those factors affect your perineum or that part of the body that connects directly to the seat. So that's how it's directly linked to motorcycle riding or bicycle riding if that's what you do. But that's why this is so important. This is something we probably don't think about a lot because we're just riding. You know, a lot of people, they may just ride. They keep their stock seat. They never adjust it. They never add gel. They never do anything to it. We spend a lot of money on motorcycle parts, motorcycle things. I'm going to put out a challenge to us all to invest some money in your seat because
Okay,
that is
okay,
that is
okay. I
your
got a
first.
question. I got question. I got questions. Okay,
Okay.
so you said the part of the butt is the perineum.
It is
Is
the
that
perineum. Yes, that's
perineum?
that's what it's called. Yeah, and
Okay,
that's everything. That includes everything. So
so
that
okay, so that's the
includes,
whole lower extremity type butt, the buttocks area. Is that
from your penis to your scrotum to your butt. All of that is
okay?
the
And you
perineum.
tell me if I'm getting you
So
tell me
just
if I'm
kind of
getting
keep
ahead of myself here, or getting ahead of the
okay.
show, because obviously we talk about seats all the time, having a good quality seat, and especially on this particular podcast on this channel. This channel is really fixated to long distance motorcycle riders. So we're on that seat a long time. Would that have a negative effect on, say, prostate? Would that have a negative uh,
Yes.
effect on scrotums, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes,
Okay,
because all of that's in your perineum. All of that. All of those
okay,
structures. So again, like I mentioned, the heat, we know how much heat comes off of the bikes. The vibration, if you don't have a good seat, that affects the shock absorption. We're bouncing, going over bumps, and just sitting for a long period of time in pretty much one position. You can kind of shift and reposition, but primarily you're in one 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 position for
hmm
you know. And if you think about when you're sitting, um, your pressure points. If you're standing, your pressure points are different. And I'm talking about the body in as a whole. When you're sitting, all of your pressure is in that area.
yeah.
Your below your torso to your probably your upper thighs. All that pressure is there. So all of those things is why you have so many potential effects on that area. Again, the heat,
Would
the
would
shock
would that
absorption, the
would that
vibration.
would that have a negative effect? Would that okay? I'm trying to figure out how I asked this without getting way ahead of myself. Does does that have anything with possibly making you sterile or making you or giving you ED
It
issues and
can,
things like
and
that?
yes, it does. It can, yes, and usually that's prolonged effects, sterility, ED, um, problems with your ureter, which is or urethra, which is the tube that carries urine from your bladder
You're
out of your
right.
body. And
Wow.
to mention that, you're sitting for long periods of time, you're not drinking as well. We talk a lot about hydration. That's really important.
hmm
Um, and we're not using the bathroom like we normally would. We're holding our urine. So
hmm
you're at risk for increased urinary tract infections, um, fatigue. Any part of the body that has muscles can be fatigued. It may not be
Yeah.
like a tired, like I'm panting tired, but any part of the body that has muscles can be fatigued. Um, it can lead to muscle atrophy, meaning you're not using those muscles um, as you normally would because you're sitting. You're not really using those muscles. So there's a lot of potential effects that you can have just by riding a motorcycle for long distances, long periods of time in one position, subjected to heat, vibration. I'm not sure how much you all know about cancer, but just to give you an illustration, a cancer cell It was once a normal cell.
Mm-hmm.
Something changed it. Um, Something made it mutate. Something made it become a cancer cell. Usually, it's heat, overstimulation, chemicals, or some type of trauma. Usually, so all of
I'm
those
trying not to
things.
laugh. I, he's so immature.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've heard it. I've heard it called that too.
Right, right. True.
Oh goodness. But
Okay.
in all seriousness, that any of those things have the potential to change a normal cell into a cancer cell or a cell that does not function like it should. So that's why you see elevations in your PSA or your prostate specific antigen. You may notice soreness, tenderness, urethritis, urinary tract infections, any of those things. So it just needs something that's not normal to change it into something
Hmm.
that can potentially impact.
Well,
I hope I didn't get too.
wouldn't and for folks today, obviously we're talking about these what was the proper way I call it? These give me the medical side of do we call these ailments or do we call them what do we call them, Nurse Tiffany? Help me out.
You can just call them factors. Some of them are
Okay, these
physical.
okay,
Some of them are
so
can be chemical, environmental signs and symptoms.
okay.
But I mean, they're factors. There's not really a technical word for it.
Okay, so
Just anything that has
these factors specifically as it pertains to the motorcycle rider, the long distance motorcycle rider. So, obviously you talked about some things that can affect these particular ailments or factors. Being on a motorcycle seat for long periods of time, being on a
Mhm.
maybe not so comfortable seat or inexpensive seat can have an issue with it. Uh, you know, being on the bike and you know how we is, well, I ain't going to the bathroom. I want to get about 50 more miles down the road, not going to the bathroom, maybe not hydrating properly. Would a UTI come from maybe not hydrating properly while you're on the road, or is a UTI comes from other different things?
Absolutely. Because when your urine sits in the bladder,
Mm-hmm.
that's when it starts to grow germs
Mm,
or bacteria, which is that's what the cause of a UTI is. If it just
mm,
sits, it kind of, and if it's not diluted, and you do that by drinking plenty of fluids. So it
mm.
becomes more concentrated. Again, it starts to grow germs, which is what causes
Is that where you start getting
UTIs.
the dark color?
Yes,
Okay.
amber. Yes,
Okay. Okay.
yes,
Okay.
because it's not diluted enough. Your urine, it should be really clear, pale yellow. That's what it should be. I think I've posted before on what it should look like, and that's something you can directly look at. I mean,
Hmm.
you can look in the toilet after you urinate and see, maybe I need to brush up on my water
Hmm.
intake, or um, there's signs of a UTI. If you're having to go and you're only just dribbling a little bit, you're not emptying your bladder, if it's painful in any way,
Hmm.
burning, um, those are signs that you may have a UTI. Those are pretty simple that anybody could pretty much recognize.
What are some signs say if I'm on the bike and I've been on the bike for a long time?
Mhm.
Would I get maybe a feeling in the scrotum area, maybe numbness, or you? I think you even mentioned one time maybe just some soreness. Are those signs or
Those may be signs that you need to look at your seat.
okay?
Those are signs that you may need to change your position,
Hmm.
redistribute your weight. So those signs are usually early signs. The pain and the numbness, those are usually early signs. So if we bypass, and a lot of times we bypass those signs. So when you start seeing changes in your lab work, um, urine, those are usually later. So just right off the bat, I mean, you kind of know if you don't have a good seat on your bike. You kind of know that. I don't know how you wouldn't, but you kind of know that. You know that if your bike tends to get extra hot, you know that your clothing that you wear, if it tends to hold heat. I know some of the motorcycle suits, they have padding in that area.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've paid that any attention, but that's why.
Yeah.
You know, that's to kind
Yeah.
of protect that area.
And not only that,
If if you
that's some of the reason why I ride now with a riding suit, a top, pants and bottoms, because I just want that looseness in the crotch area. Because say for men, if we're wearing certain types of jeans, as I get onto the seat, obviously it cinches up, so now there's no room, and it just got the gooch. It's got everything packed up in there. So, and I've always thought, I didn't never know, medically, but I've always thought that, man, that's probably just not a good thing for being locked in a
correct.
position like that for 6, 7, 8 hours, and only be able to get off a
Mhm.
bike for 15 minutes and then gassing and going. So, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
jeans, the seam in jeans, that can cause enough friction over a period of time. The monkey butt powders, all of that's because you're getting a lot of friction in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So these are things that we probably experienced, and I say we because I'm kind of with you guys on this stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
um, those are things that you probably ignored. You just bought some powder, sprinkled your powder, and you went on about your way. You didn't think about the long term effects. So I want to highlight how these simple things that we maybe ignore can potentially lead to long term, you know,
Mm.
um, damage to the structures of your perineum, UTIs, your urethritis, ED, um, prostate problems. So these are later, but all of these things that we're talking about now are things that you can directly correct, which is what I want you to kind of take away. What are the things that you can affect? What can you do rather quickly, rather inexpensively, to correct some of these things so you don't have some of these later issues?
Well, let's talk about that. Let's dive into that real quick, sis. Okay, obviously we know for the UTI, it's simple, just water, right? Is there
Drink
anything else
water,
for the?
take your bathroom breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if your bladder's not emptying or if you're noticing any pain or burning, um, get checked out. A
Mm.
lot of UTIs go for so long. You can actually have a UTI. If you've done lab work, you could actually have a UTI and really have no symptoms.
Wow.
So if it's really important to look at your urine. If it has an odor, urine really shouldn't smell a whole lot. It has a distinctive odor, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
really a smelly odor, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. It
If it's
should be
reeking,
pretty pale yellow.
yeah, you,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
You'd be surprised how many people just don't drink water. Mine blows
No,
my
I'm not
mind, but
surprised. I'm not surprised. I know plenty of people that do not drink water. Matter of fact,
yeah,
sadly, I've been on long distance trips, and I've seen, guys that pull into a gas station and get a Mountain Dew because they want the sugar rush
mhm,
and whatever, to the caffeine of the Mountain Dew, but then they don't drink any water behind it.
correct, correct. So
Huh.
those are things that you can do rather immediately to minimize your risk.
Hmm. So okay, so on the prostate side, on a motorcycle seat, how do we maneuver around there? What are some measures we can use to help that not to be such an issue?
Again, think of it. Are you comfortable on your seat? Are you comfortable on your bike? Um, is it high? Do you have like a higher profile bike? Are your feet flat on the ground? Some guys that ride, you might ride a sport bike or one of those other touring bikes,
Hmm.
not a bagger. Some of those other type of bikes, it's a higher profile. So it takes more to get on it, to balance it. Um, think about the pressure points. Again, think about your gear, what you're wearing. If you would look at the insert on most protective gear, it's going to do something to redistribute heat, moisture, um, pressure. It's meant to do all of those things. Now, you may or may not wear those things, but there's things you can do. Look at your seat. Um, I don't have, I had adjustments to my seat, but there's a lot of seats out there that cost a lot of money, and it's probably basically for looks. It's not for
Oh, don't
comfort
I
and
know?
to
Yeah, there's a ton of them.
yeah, it doesn't redistribute your weight. It doesn't absorb any of the shock. It doesn't absorb any of the heat. You know, I have seen bikes with these high dollar seats, and then they still have to um, use some sort of padding. Um, I've seen people have the lambskin or the different coverings in the wintertime. Um, I guess they're warmer, but be mindful of all those things. Some of the older bikes, there might be limited options on the type of seat. So just take a good look at your seat. Is it comfortable? Sometimes we don't want to spend the money, but it's kind of one of those things, either you pay now or you pay
Pay
later.
later. I
With
was thinking
with
that
your money.
you mentioned it just a little bit. You say like the seat paddings or seat gels. Do you recommend that? Maybe
I
or do you
personally
think they
have
work?
I personally have gel in my seat. Well, yeah, if you think about the function of gel, it's going to absorb some heat. It's going to redistribute your body. Whereas, like I said, your positioning is pretty limited. But if you have something, um, for people in the hospital that have wounds, if you will, just to illustrate a little better, we a lot of times put them on different types of gel cushions, fluidized beds, things that kind of move you a little bit all along. So that's the function of gel, and things that are more fluid. So it helps you to redistribute your weight, relieve some of that pressure. So it's the same principle, um, on your seat. So just take a look at your seat. Make sure your bike is properly adjusted. I know sometimes we think lower bikes or different types of bikes, that's what we want, so that's what we get. But if you're a shorter person, you could be putting extra strain on those areas and not even realize
Hmm.
it. Just simply because you bought what you wanted, which everybody's entitled to do.
Hmm.
But um, I would say now I tend to look more at comfort and functionality. I don't want to be, it
Com-
might look good, but I don't want to be
hey
comfortable
man,
on it.
comfort is everything. I ride with a ugly behind hammock seat, but that seat is the funk. It's the ugliest, unsexy seat on the planet, but it's about the only seat I can deal with that will
Okay.
it'll give me I guess even with a seat, it's only so much a seat can do. Your back is still gonna hurt eventually. Your butt is still gonna hurt eventually. Just like you said, men, we're gonna get off that bike after a certain amount of hours. And you know how the old movies where the cowboy gets off the horse and he's kind of walking kind of bow legged? You still gonna be
Mhm.
doing that type of stuff. So I'm thinking
Correct.
I'm
That's a
thinking,
good point, because I think a lot of bikers also ride horses. Same stuff, same principles.
mhm,
A bicycle. Some people may uh, use cycling as a form of exercise. So all of
mhm,
this is applicable to those activities as well. We just happen to be talking more about
right,
motorcycle riding.
right. Hey, for everybody out there that's on Facebook, man, we appreciate you guys tuning in with us today. But what we're getting ready to do, we're going to go ahead and kill the Facebook feed. Is Sarge Life in the Motorcycle, the YouTube channel is scrolling below. So if you don't know the YouTube channel, it's Sarge Life in the Motorcycling. So we're gonna go ahead and come off Facebook right now, and we appreciate you guys for opening up a second tab and coming on to the YouTube channel. Joe, I see you. What's happening down in Miami? Good to see you, my brother. So 3, 2, 1, we're coming off Facebook right now. Okay, thank you for everybody who's tuning in with us today, man. We're talking Movember. We're talking Men's Health Awareness Month. Did I do it right, Nurse Tiffany? Men's Health
Yes.
Awareness Month.
Yes.
And we're talking about
Yes.
issues, man, that men have that we need to do a better job at noticing the symptoms, signs, and what else? Nurse Tiffany, what else I missed?
We're
Signs
talking
and
about prevention,
prevention.
prevention
Okay.
measures.
Okay.
Yeah, things that
Okay.
you can do before you get to that doctor's appointment.
Awesome. Because and then just recapping what we've talked about. We've talked about say issues from being on a motorcycle seat for a long period of time. It could possibly have what I'm trying to say,
UTIs.
UTIs, prostate. What else? What do we call that whole thing in the bottom? What is that called?
That is your perineum.
Perineum. Yeah. Okay.
We're talking
Okay.
about that's the entire area
Okay.
that can be affected. Yeah, that's where
Okay.
all the male organs are.
Okay.
Yeah, that means
AKA the gooch, the whole gooch. So okay, so okay, so if I'm riding a long distance, again, would you suggest, some people, some clubs, they think it's a flex. We say we don't get off the bike, but every other gas stop, we just gas and go. Do you think that's a good thing to gas and go, or do you think, in your medical opinion, getting off the bike can stretch
it's
it?
not. Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes it's not, because again, we talked about fatigue. Any part of the body that has a muscle, it can become fatigued. Even that area. And you're not using the bathroom like you should. You're not eliminating that urine that needs to come out. You're not giving your body a chance to rehydrate, get something to drink. And again, all of these factors, such as the heat, the vibration, the sitting stationary in just maybe one or two positions on the bike, the longer you do those things without interruption, that is a major factor. You're going to experience some of these things, but the fact that there's long periods of time with little interruption, that is a huge part of all of this. You can't really eliminate these factors, but if you do something long enough without interruption, just to illustrate again. So the cells on my arm, they're normal. There's nothing wrong with them. But if I could literally do this, if I could just take something, a finger, anything, and if I rub this long enough, without interruption, just constantly, if I rubbed it, probably take years, but if I rubbed it long enough, these cells would turn, they would change. Because it's just constant. There's no interruption. There's friction, there's heat, there's no interruption. So it's the same principle. So we can't eliminate all these factors, but providing adequate rest or adequate breaks in between that is really key. Giving yourself breaks, giving yourself time to recover. So
Okay.
so that is huge. That is really important, because if not, then if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and segue into our next kind of phase of this. If
Let's
not,
do it.
when you go to your doctor for your annual screenings, hopefully you all are doing those, guys, at least once a year. I would say two, but please at least once a year, go and get your screenings, especially when you hit age 55. That's kind of the age that you want to
Hmm.
definitely, um, you keep in mind, 55 to 69. Now, don't get so focused on that age, because that's just an average. And if you have problems with uh, UTIs, if you are a long distance motorcycle rider, uh, if you have if you've been told before, or if you know that you have prostate cancer in your family history, or if you have some of the other comorbidities, we talk about those, like high blood pressure, if you already have ED, if you are diabetic, keep in mind you may want to start these screenings sooner. That is a conversation that's best had with your doctor. If you don't go to the doctor, you kind of eliminate your ability to address them early, if need be. So at least once a year, go to the doctor. They're going to do blood work, of course. They're going to test your A1C, which is indicative of diabetes. That's like a 3-month look back, to see what your blood sugar is doing. Those numbers, if you're 5.7, that's probably in the pre-diabetic range. If you're less than that, then you're pretty good. Um, but get those checks. Your prostate specific antigen, or PSA, that tells you exactly what's going on with your prostate. If you've been exposed to some of these factors we've been talking about, you may see a higher number. So that number, is going to be less than or equal to 2.5. The higher range is less than or equal to 6.5. So just kind of keep, I'd say 2 to 6 in your brain. Now, again, if you are having issues, um, you may tend to be a little higher. So let's just say, um, if you are a person that has chronic UTIs or urethritis, that's just an inflammation of your tract where your urine travels from your kidneys out of your body. So if you have had lots of UTIs, let's say over the years, it may just be something that affects you directly. You are at higher risk to see some of these things elevated. Doesn't mean you have prostate cancer, but because of other factors, you may have a higher PSA. Again, this is something that you want to talk to about your doctor, because your doctor knows your history. And he can say, you might say, well, doc, gosh, do I have prostate cancer? My PSA is 5. And of course, he'll look back through your history and what else is going on. And he may say, well, no, you're okay. You don't have cancer, but it's something that we want to watch. So again, that's why your doctor and these conversations are so important, because your normal may not be another guy's normal. You have to figure out what's normal for you. Again, that's why your doctor is so important. So these numbers I'm giving are just ranges. That's why it's important that you go so you can see what your normal is.
Got it. So
And then if something is wrong, you'll kind of know it's high, but I'm not outside of my range, or it's high, I am outside of my normal range.
Okay. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna go off the script for this one thing because it's one thing that came up too, and well, I'm gonna tell everybody this. Okay, so just a real quick story. So this weekend, I'm at an event, and it was at an annual. So we got the young men on one side, we got the us older guys on another side, and the younger guys were talking about things that younger guys were talking about. Uh, the older guys, we were talking about it. I was telling the guys, I say, hey man, I'm gonna have Icy on next week, and we're gonna be talking about Men's Health Awareness Month. So we get to talking, and obviously, as older guys, we're talking about things like prostate issues. We're talking about having to go to the bathroom, like just the normal stuff that men, as you grow older, you deal with. And it was a certain situation. I was talking to one gentleman that said he ended up. If I got this correctly, I think he was diagnosed with, I don't know if it was an enlarged prostate or prostate cancer, but he ended up having to just have the prostate removed. Would that be prostate cancer in your opinion, or is that an enlarged prostate
Not
that they would
necessarily.
elect to do that?
Well, that's another thing that sometimes happens in men, and usually it's due to something else. Just an enlarged prostate. If you think about how the prostate is situated or the anatomy of it, again, we talked about the urinary tract. It runs right through your prostate. So if the prostate is enlarged, you can think about, let's just say this is your urinary tract and this is your prostate. So if it's enlarged, it's going to constrict that urine flow. That's why it's hard for some men with enlarged prostates to use the bathroom. Let's just say if you were in a motorcycle accident, God forbid, and you've had some sort of trauma, um, think about how we used to ride our bicycles back in the day growing up. How many accidents did you have? Or if you think about those bikes that had that top bar, how many times
Hmm.
did you hurt your groin?
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so that can be caused by trauma.
Hmm.
So if your prostate is enlarged for whatever reason, it can directly affect your urine flow, which means your urine sits in your bladder longer because you have a harder time using the bathroom. Your urge to urinate, it might be prolonged. So again, your urine sits in your bladder longer. So sometimes just having an enlarged prostate, it doesn't mean you have cancer, but it causes all these other issues. It obstructs that urine flow enough to where you may need to have it removed. And if you think about it, if it is prolonged and nothing is done about it, it could turn into cancer.
Okay.
Because again, we're thinking about cells and how they become cancer cells. A change, prolonged exposure to some sort of change. So all of those things can lead to cancer, God forbid.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, it was just kind of interesting, when he said what he said and had to have it removed. Obviously, most of the guys at that point, okay, what does that mean? What can you do? And you know how it is. What can you do now?
Mhm.
And it was just something that kind of sat with everybody. It was like, man, that's real stuff. That stuff. That's, I don't know if it stopped you from, as a male. Uh, is that something now? Once the prostate has been removed, is that something that your doctor has to come back and revisit that area every year, or is once it's gone, it's over, and you don't have to worry about nothing else again?
Well, again, because if it's removed, your levels are probably going to be off. So I'm gonna maybe hopefully clear some of this. So I'm going to tell you about the function of a prostate. What is it designed to
Okay,
do?
cool.
So, your prostate, basically, it produces a type of fluid, and basically it mixes with sperm and a few other things to create semen. So that's how it can lead to sterility if you're having prostate issues. It provides a lot of nourishment, and this is especially important if you're still having children. It provides nourishment, if you will, to protect and nourish the sperm, which that's how you create children. So that is what the prostate is designed to do. But it's just like anything else. As you age, and bear with me for a minute, I don't want to get too graphic, but this part is important. As you age, just as female, some of those organs that are really important in our childbearing years are no longer important. And the functionality of them is diminished because we're not having kids anymore. Not to get into anyone's personal business, but you may not be having sexual relations as often. So those organs, those fluids are just kind of sitting there. They're not being used. They're not being expelled from the body. So when you experience things like that, that alone is just something that's naturally happens with aging. That's not anything that you can change, but that's when it starts to lead to some of these abnormal labs. When you're having sexual relations, it's expelled out of the body. That's just what it does. And that's what it's designed to do. So when you have alterations in any of that, you have the potential for issues. Just like a woman, if you're no longer ovulating and expelling those eggs every month like you normally would during childbearing years, that stuff is just sitting there. So that's when things start to kind of change.
Got it.
And a lot of it, we're just at risk because we're getting older. That is a risk that you cannot minimize.
Right. I'm
So,
telling you, getting old is a privilege and it's divine, but it ain't sexy. I can tell you that. all of us only pray to get old, but we know when you get old, it ain't sexy.
Can I mention one more thing that's important?
Yes, ma'am.
Guys, when you hit age 40, so I'm saying this to say, please don't be embarrassed by this. It is a normal part of aging. So please check these things and please get help. Your male hormone or testosterone, it normally decreases at age 40. 40. I would say most of the guys that I know are well beyond 40, because I'm beyond 40, so testosterone is the hormone, the male hormone. It facilitates a lot of these processes. So if you know the entire piece, then this is something you cannot change because we're all getting older. But there is a such thing as testosterone replacement therapy. That is really helpful for some males because it helps facilitate those processes. So that is something that you may need to talk to your doctor about. What's my T level? So it's not anything to be embarrassed about, because at age 40, it's going to decline. It's nothing you can really do about it. So those are things that, again, you can do. You may be feeling sluggish. You may have mood changes. It's a hormone. That's what hormones do. Females have hormones, males have hormones. So That's another thing that you can kind of keep an eye on. A lot of people miss it. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. I'm going to say this, us, because a lot of people that I have cared for are not us. We don't want to
Yeah.
talk about these kinds of issues. We think it's less manly, but doesn't make you less of a man just because you've hit the 40 age mark.
I think it makes you
So
blessed. Hey, it's a blessing to hit the 40 age mark, and you pray to hit 40 more. Yeah. Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
and that enlargement, that's something that happens just because of age.
To every
An
man.
enlarged prostate, it can. So doesn't mean something's wrong. It's sometimes it's just something that happens solely because of aging. It may
Okay.
not happen to the point where it's constricting your urine flow, but I would say most men at least have trouble getting started their urine flow. Most people. If you could think about it, when you went to the bathroom when you were younger and you just started going, when you go now, and I'm just speaking in general of guys that's older, you may have to kind of stand there for a minute
Yeah. It can
to
take
kind
a
of get
couple seconds, especially getting off a motorcycle. It ain't right away. It takes a second or
Mhm.
two. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. So
Good
these are
stuff. Good.
all things that so these are all things that happen as a normal part of aging. The key is if you start noticing uh, above and beyond, then it's something you want to have a conversation with your doctor about. Let them know what's going on. It may just be just something that's attributed to aging, but if it continues, it could be something that really causes you issues. So that's what we want to prevent.
Okay. Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. Boy, we beat up prostate to death, did we? we be, we beat that up. But
Whatever
I'm
it
glad
takes.
I'm glad we spent that much time on it because obviously that to me for male riders is one of the biggest things other than the heart issues and diabetes, but because you're sitting on that seat for so long. And we know it's not a
Mhm.
comfortable feeling. It's not a good feeling. And we know somewhere down the line, we're going to pay the piper if, if we ain't careful with
Correct.
that. Yes, ma'am.
Correct. And hopefully we won't get to that. So,
Very good
just a
stuff.
couple of other things I wanted to mention, just because I usually take a look every month to see kind of what awareness out there, and I try to do
Hmm.
something at least, you know, um, November or Movember is not only Men's Health Awareness Month. It is also Diabetes Awareness Month. And again, we've mentioned it a couple of times. Diabetes can complicate some of these issues. So just be mindful of that. Get your blood sugars, your A1C checked. If you have issues, make sure you're on the correct meds. Monitor your sugar. Have those screenings done. And also, another cause that's kind of near and dear to me. And I've actually talked to some uh, I would say more people recently. And I think it's just because we are aging and our parents are aging. It's also Alzheimer's Awareness Month.
Mm.
Um, I noticed that there's a lot of us that are caregivers. Now, this may not affect us, but we may be dealing with that. And I wanted to mention that as well, because I know just because of Facebook posts and different things, a lot of us are still very interactive and hands on with our parents and aging family members. So, um, take a minute to kind of just Google research. Most of these causes I talk about, they have foundations where you can get free information and resources. I think I shared some with you um, before the podcast, just to kind of let you know where I pull a lot of
You're
my
talking about,
information from.
are we talking about the website?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Is
most
this the is
most
this the one we were talking
disorders,
about?
yes, yes,
Okay.
that's one of them
Awesome.
for prostate.
Okay. Okay, I'm
That's
sorry.
There's a lot of good information on there that you can, get information, free resources. Um, what I would like to see is a lot of us bikers that have various platforms get more involved in events. Movember, I'm going to put a challenge out there for you guys. Um, uh, just kind of make it fun, just to create some awareness. A lot of men grow their beards out during this month. If you have a beard already, they don't cut them. That's kind of a fun thing that a lot of men do for Movember.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can host events or attend events geared around men's health and men's wellness. We talk a lot about prostate health. We talk quite a bit about heart disease. We talk a lot about diabetes, uh, progressing information, but my opinion, not enough on mental health. That's something that's really important, especially for our men, um, because I need the men around me to be well. That's what's motivating me. So
Facts.
um,
Yes.
we talk about a lot of things, but we don't want to talk. Mental health is one of those things we don't really want to talk about. Um, Sometimes it's all about me, but we need to be more um, hands on about making sure our men are okay. Again, I have a significant other, I have a father, I have a son, I have a nephew, I have brothers, I have uncles, cousins, and I have biker friends, biker brothers. Um, I need for those folks to be okay. So that's what motivates me. Um, that's one of the things that I'm most proud of in nursing. It has really helped me to be considerate of everybody, you know, um, not just worried about women and what we go through. There's a whole nother uh, gender of folks that we need to also be in tune to. So
Appreciate that.
that's all I'll say.
Yeah. No, I
Um,
appreciate that.
so so that is what motivates me. But again, please, guys, go to the doctor, have these conversations with your wives. One last thing. As we get older, we talk a lot about legacies. We want to pass along a lot of things, but I'm going to challenge all of us, myself included. Let's pass along some good health.
mm,
What are we doing to educate our children, our parents when we can, and our families? What are we doing to make sure that they're going to be okay and that they can pass it along? Because if we don't have good health, I've cared for some people that had all the money that they wanted. I've cared for people that I've cared for doctors that I have once worked for, and
mm,
they are just kind of reduced to nothing because their health is poor, their mental
mm.
health is bad. That is really common among healthcare professionals,
I've
mental
heard
health
because they
issues.
spend so much time caring about everybody else to kind of forget about themselves.
It can
Yeah.
be all consuming. And,
Mm-hmm.
and please believe me when I tell you this sharing, it's huge for me because, again, I used to want to keep all of this separate. When I was out riding and doing bike stuff, I didn't want to hear nothing about nursing. I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't. I used to say it a lot. Nurse Tiffany clocked out at 5 o'clock on Friday. If you have any issues, talk to me Monday at 8 a.m. I used to
I
say
got you on
that,
Monday.
but I mean, it's not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
I've evolved, but sometimes it's a struggle because my day to day can be all consuming. Um, but I've had to recently say, "Hey, I got to take better care of myself, or else."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so, and I know there's a lot of healthcare professionals out there, so that's another challenge. Let's take care of ourselves so we can take care of our men, our families, our kids, and our biker brothers and sisters. So that's kind of all I got.
Awesome, man. It is Movember, Men's Health Awareness Month. Man, if you have not got your physical or making plans to get your physical, do it. Do it. It's, and we all guilty of it, especially us men. We first thing we want to do is make sure we get the motorcycle maintenance so we can go on a trip. The last thing we're going to do is get our preventive maintenance for ourselves before we go on the trip. Explain to me why we do that. Why do we do that? Out of sight, out of mind. It ain't a problem until it's a problem.
I think that's a lot of people's attitude about healthcare. And just to mention something that I've noticed over the years, and I don't know why this is, and this is another reason why I try to educate people. Education is power, and I say that because as a whole population, African American, we still have a general mistrust of the healthcare system. And it goes way back. If you dig into our history about the things that were done to our race, we have a general mistrust. I'm going to go to the doctor and I'm going to hear what he has to say, but I might or might not do it. I really don't want to know, I don't want to hear it because, he gave me this medicine and it didn't work for me. I think he's trying to kill me. Well, no, maybe it's just not the medicine for you. Go back and say, hey, doc, this medicine don't work. Give me something else. Or please question it. I have literally drove up to a pharmacy to pick up medicine, and I know they're like, oh God. But you know how the pharmacist will staple your bag together and staple your receipt? Before I pull off, I'm going to rip that bag open, and I'm going to take out those medicine bottles, and I am going to look at it. And about a month ago, and I probably know a little bit more about medicines than most, but please do this. Pull out that medicine. I said, well, what is this? So the tech tried to explain to me what it was. I said, well, no, that's not what it is for me. I give this medicine and I know what it's for. I know medicines have off-label uses, but this medicine is not for me. And I'm not kidding. When they took the prescription back, I called my doctor's office and left a message on the nurse line or whatever. They called me and said, oh, Miss Nichols, they didn't say it, but they had sent in the wrong medicine for me. So it's just things like that we can do. Look at your medicine, read the inserts. If something doesn't work for you, take it, go back and say, hey, let's try something else. There's thousands and thousands of medicine. Medicine is not a one size fits all. So ask these questions. Know what effects your body has to certain things. So that's just a small example, just something that I, and I didn't have to say, well, I'm a nurse and I blah, 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 blah. But I knew my medicine and I know me, I know my body and I know what I needed. And it happened to be the wrong medicine entirely. So
I've seen it happen before. I mean, pharmacists are human. They can make a mistake, but you're right.
Well,
you have no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If you've ever seen a script, it's not legible. I mean, I can't tell you how many times over the years you call and say, hey, doc, this is what this looks like. Can you clarify what this really says? And then you repeat it. So again, doctors are human. It could be a typo error. Most techs that fill your medicines, they're not pharmacists, they're techs.
Didn't know that.
So, So all of this stuff, we could go on, but my point is ask questions, communicate, have those doctor visits, plan for your doctor's visits, just like you do your rides.
That well said. Hey man, she's icy. She's our biker nurse, man, our resident biker nurse. She's here to take care of us. And every once in a while, we let her enjoy riding the motorcycle too. But man, I thank her so much. And you know, and Tiffany, and I'm gonna say this because I know I can't keep you forever. I know I'm gonna let you get on life, but you've been so helpful to us in the motorcycle riding community. You've been so special. You are our guardian angel, and I've seen you at work with taking care of issues. And we don't need to talk about the issues because I think we all know in the biker community what we're talking about. I appreciate you for giving up yourself to come on these podcasts, to be able to tell us the things that we kind of know, but we need sometimes to be encouraged and motivated to, hey man, we know, so let's just go ahead and do what we know is right for us. So I appreciate you for that very, very, very much. And I'm gonna leave it. Any last words that you have for us that you need to share to make sure we get it in gear?
Stay safe and be well. You know, that's it.
Let's give it up for Nurse Tiffany. Let's do this. Man, she truly is Iron Elite. Thank you so much for being on with us today. I do have your socials in the description, so if you guys want to look her up on social media, we do have her link. We do also have her link for the biker first aid kit. Would you like to speak a little bit about that real quick, or you can kind of share that with us?
Again, just through administering care on the bike. See, I carry a kit on my bike. Just because, and unfortunately, you know, I had an instance where in February where I had to administer care to one of the riders that was in our pack that went down. Unfortunately, she did not survive, but so rest in peace, Tiffany. So anyway, I kind of went back and revamped my kit, and it was based on things to help, you know, to give you a first line, to help you to give whoever the best chance possible. So I had folks to reach out to me and started asking me, well, what do you carry on your bike? What you know, what's in your kit? You know, because I would post pictures and things and just kind of make general posts. And so I had a few people that asked me can you make me a kit? So I started making those kits. I don't mind sharing what's in my kit or some ideas of things that you could put in a kit, but I took it a step further, and I actually, I don't have my kit here with me.
But we definitely have that link. We definitely have that link for your first aid kit in the description. And I'm going to repost that on the Iron Elite Home of the Ground Pounders reunion page as well. So definitely, that is a big, big
donated.
deal.
Yeah, the first 5 kits that I assembled, I donated them.
Nice. Always giving.
And that was just something that I wanted to do. And I've got some good feedback on the kit. So that's something that's available. Again,
Awesome
I don't mind
stuff.
sharing what's in it, or if that's something I need to put together for you, then I can.
Wow. Thank you so much, Nurse Tiffany, for being on with us today. I know you got patients to take care of and people to make well, but make me a promise. We can do this again soon. Make me a promise. We got to.
Okay. And thank you again for the opportunity to share.
Thank you so much. Here we go. Icy, appreciate you. Salute. Take care. Enjoy your day. Much love. Hey, man, there we have Nurse Tiffany, man, on with us today to talk to us about Movember, man, Men's Health Awareness Month, man. So important for us, again, to take care of ourselves, man, to make sure we take our physical health as well as our mental health seriously, man. So I appreciate having her on with us today, man. A lot of great information. We will have her on in the future. Just like I said, she's our resident biker nurse, man, to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do as bikers to stay as healthy as we can, man, so we can be around for our family and also have the privilege of motorcycle riding, man. Thank you to all our folks who came on with us today in the chat, man. You guys could be anywhere doing anything, but you spent a little bit of time with us today. I appreciate it. I know health ain't the most sexiest thing in the world to talk about, Sarge, but it is so, so important. C1s, appreciate you, brother. Joe, 305, we appreciate you. DJ Ready, we appreciate you. K Solo the Rider from the podcast with Logic, appreciate you, brother. Appreciate everybody for coming on with us today. Hopefully you guys will have a great, great Thursday. But I also want to talk about this before we get out of Dodge here, is if you guys have not done this already, please go ahead and get your host hotel room for the Iron Elite event. The Iron Elite event, paying tribute to Black History event, February 7th and 8th, 2025 here in Jacksonville, Florida, at Adam Mack Harley Davidson Bay Meadows Boulevard, man. Get your room now. There's an issue. We're working on trying to get a second hotel that's right next to the host hotel for an overflow. But Sarge is not in the hotel business, man. I'm not going to be dealing with this stuff too much longer. So please go ahead and get your hotel room today. For the link is in the Iron Elite, on the Iron Elite group page, home of the Ground Pounders reunion. Go to the link, go ahead and get you a room booked, so you can get that taken care of. Other than that, man, hopefully everybody's having a great day, man. Your boy Sarge has got to get out of here because I have a day job, man, to get to. Also, for my riders that are on the road, man, my South Florida connection guys, they're coming in hot and heavy. I think the last time I talked to Chalk and his guys, those guys were just around the Lake Charles, Louisiana area, man. So y'all fellas be safe on that road. Ray Charles, him and his wife just made it back home to the Carolinas, safe and sound, man. So for all my ITN riders out there on the road, be safe, man. Pound safe and be smart no matter what. Be smart, man, because I know there have been a lot of construction issues. There's been a lot of traffic issues out there, man. So can't wait to see you guys here in Jacksonville sometime tonight or tomorrow morning. So with that being said, man, and in meantime and in between time, y'all keep it motorcycling, you dig?